So welcome guys to module 5 of our masterclass series. And today we start with our module 5, which is winning with buyers. And today's lesson 1, which we're going to do, is the overview of winning with buyers. And I just want to set the tone and set the expectations for this module as we move forward. We're probably going to do 7 or 8 lessons in this module. And I know that it's going to revolutionize your business. There's going to be two options for this module. One is if you're already a seasoned veteran in the industry as a real estate professional, a lot of what we covered today, you may have heard before. And the question I want to ask is this: are you implementing those strategies? Are you doing effective buyer consultations? Are you able to elicit the dominant buyer motivation effectively? And are you closing the deals that you should be closing? So that's the question. If you're just coming into the industry, this is obviously going to absolutely revolutionize your business, because you start off with the right way of doing things, and it's just going to make a difference. And I'm particularly excited about this module on the one side, and on the other side, I'm a little bit cautious because I'm going to be sharing 2 things in particular with you that are very, very controversial. And one module or one tool that I use in particular is extremely controversial, and in fact is not used by any other agent that I know. So, this tool is used overseas extensively, especially in the United States and the UK and Australia. They use this particular buyer tool, but for some reason, South Africans don't use it. And I don't know many agents that are using this tool, but I'm going to share it with you, and I'm going to suggest that you use it. And it's going to make a massive, massive impact on your business, which would be great. And then I'm going to the second option is also which is actually our buyer consultation. The way we do our buyer consultation is unique, and if you follow that process, it's going to make a big difference. So we're going to jump into it. So it's module 5. We're going to do our first lesson, and lesson 1 is our overview. But before we get into an overview, I want to just start with the question that we should all be starting: is what's the outcome? In other words, everything we do needs to start with the end in mind. And when we're looking at this module of winning with buyers, I want to ask you, what is the outcome of winning with buyers? And so I want to just explore that quickly first, and I'd like just some interaction. And the question I've got there is why? Why do we want to win with buyers? Why do we need to get good at this module? If you could be effective at winning with buyers, what would be the outcome? So I might just jump in quickly. Can we maybe just jump into it? Who would like to jump in and say, why do we need to be effective with winning with buyers? Go, Benny.
Money in my account.
Money in your account. I love it. Exactly. Why would we get money in our account if we're winning with buyers?
Is it sales?
We conclude a sale.
You conclude a sale. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Srini, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, buyers buy into you before they buy into your product or what you're selling.
Come on. How awesome is that? That is so good. Just say that again, please, Srini, so everyone understands it.
Okay, buyers buy first into you before they can buy your product. So if you can't sell yourself, you can't sell your product.
Very, very good. And we use the old adage which says people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So that's what it comes back down to, the buyers. So when we're doing the winning with buyers, yes, we're going to talk about techniques of working with the buyer, but it really is, you'll see our number 1 priority when we're talking with winning with buyers is building rapport, and that's building trust. And the reality is this: they need to buy us first. We need to sell ourselves and then our product. Okay, so we need to understand. Well done. And so this whole concept of, so what is the outcome now? Why we want to win with buyers? So do you know what your goal is? And that's what I want to cover quickly first, because we might go down this road, and I'm going to cover, like I said, 2 techniques that are quite controversial, and I'm going to suggest you lean into those and get good at them. But if you don't understand why you're good at them, you're probably not going to bother actually making the effort. So I just want to jump into this quickly. The reason why we're on this whole masterclass series with our fast track series and now doing module 5 is it's to reach the 2 comma club. And so if we take a step back and say, what would it mean to you if you could do R1 million in GCR, R1 million in gross commission? How would that impact your life? Would that make a difference? Can anybody say that make a difference in lives? Yes? All right. So the question is, do you know what's going to do? Like, have you written it down? Have you written down the things that you could do with R1 million gross commission? How will it impact you? How's it going to make you feel? Those are the key things. So just on that, remember we had 2 steps. Again, step 1 is build your personal business. And that's what you're discussing today, is building your personal business, getting good at the different techniques and aspects of being a real estate professional. And then step 2 would be building your team business. And that is obviously growing your personal team. And the 2 steps together will allow you to reach the 2 comma club quicker. And again, we just look at our financial game plan. At the end of the day, at this on the right-hand side is our GCR. There's a R1 million GCR that's needed. And how do we get there? Well, we know we need to do sales. To get the sales, we need to do the mandates. To get the mandates, we need to do the appointments. So it all started with the appointments. So we spent all the time and energy in doing our lead generation, booking the appointments, closing a sole mandate, doing a mandate presentation, getting the listing up. And eventually, we are now getting buyer inquiries coming to us. And if you spend all that time and energy and effort and discipline getting to this stage, does it make sense that we should get really good at closing with the buyer we're working with? Does that make sense, guys? So that's why buyers are really valuable and we don't want to lose out. And it comes back down to this stage. So that's why, for me, I believe this is critical. So just look at the buyer. This is your personal or pay setter that we work with. But just to look at all these inquiries have been for building with sellers, but it's useless. You can have all the sellers and all the mandates, but if you don't close at the end of the day, it's also useless. So that's why we have to do both. So here's my first, as we jump into this, in terms of this overview, I'm asking the question, do you want to be a tour guide or do you want to close sales? That's the question. Who's ever felt like a tour guide as a real estate professional? Anyone been a tour guide before? Yep. So how does that scenario work? We get a buyer that phones us. We jump to attention and we meet them at the property, whatever, and we just tour. We spend the next 2 days taking for a tour around our suburbs and we show them every single property. And at the end of the day, what happens? What do they say? Anyone want to suggest that? Any suggestions? Who's had experience with this? What did buyers say sometimes? What's that?
We're not ready to buy yet.
We're not ready to buy yet. Yeah, exactly. And is that legitimate? Yeah, it's legitimate. We're not ready to buy it. Or what else? What else could they say?
Or you were driving the wife around and she says, you know what, I will discuss it with my husband tonight.
Yes, exactly. Does that ever happen? Yeah, absolutely. What else? What else happens?
It's over their budget.
Yes, Logie, come on, I love it. So yes, they love it. Oh, this is my property, I love it. And oh no, we can't afford it. Okay, that's lovely. What else? What else happens? Okay, so what I'm getting to, we've been down this road before. Either they can't afford it, or they're not ready to buy right now, or it's like we're speaking to the wrong decision maker. Does that make sense? Does that happen? And here's the situation. If we know these things are happening, have we come up with a solution to these problems? And we know the solution, but we don't implement it. And that's what I want to talk to you today about, is let's get deliberate and intentional with the way we do our presentations, the way we take our buyers out so we don't have these problems. So that's why this is going to make such a difference for you guys. Now, I'm going to just cover a quick thing. So here's the situation. I'm saying there that not all buyers are created equal. Now, what I mean by that is that exactly that sometimes you take a buyer out, but they're not ready to buy. All right. So it's all about the timing. And what I've heard a lot of statements which are completely erroneous. And I never ever want to hear anyone say this, but I've often heard this say is that buyers are something and sellers are something else. And that statement is a statement because agents are frustrated with the buyers because we've done all the work, we've taken them out and they're not ready to buy. Now, here's the question, guys. Whose fault is that? Is that the buyer's fault or is that our fault? It's not the buyer's fault. It's just who they are. Would you agree with that? Like, I know we get frustrated. Like, you know, if you spent like the last 2 days and done all the work and now the buyer's not ready to buy, like it's frustrating, right? But here's the thing. It's not the buyer's issue. It's not that they're wanting to be mean, that they're trying to be difficult. What's the issue here? It's an issue of timing. Does that make sense? All right. So here's the one question. So if I'm a buyer right now and you've taken me around and I'm not really ready to buy right now for whatever reason, let's say I'm only able to move in a year's time. Here's the question you need to ask myself. Will my situation and my needs change? Yes or no? Yes. Would you agree with that? So if a buyer is not ready today, could they be ready in 6 months, a year, or 5 years' time? Is that true? Yes or no? Absolutely. So here's the thing. This is what I want to get to is that the buyer that you're speaking to is going to buy. They are definitely a good buyer. The truth of it is this, is that they may not be the buyer for you right now. Can you see how that works? So as a result, it can take the pressure off. So what's our goal? What would you say our goal is in? If the buyer's circumstances shifts to and fro, to being hot to cold, what is our goal? What do we need to do as real estate professionals? Anyone want to suggest?
Keep in contact with them.
That would be
Keep them on your list of, clients looking.
Imagine that. Imagine
Qualified.
keeping contact with your buyers. That would be awesome, hey? Absolutely. Well done, Bernie. So keep in contact with them. So what is our goal? When we're sitting down with the buyer, what is our intention? What are we trying to find out?
Qualified.
Is to, yeah,
No
is to
problem.
find out, is to really find out if they are urgent to buy now.
Okay, good. So
Are they in the market now?
exactly. So our goal is a search. Our goal, and here's the thing, I want to take the frustration away. If you get this today, your job is going to be so easy. Because sometimes if I have one buyer for a property, guess what? I have to work very hard in convincing them, making them do something they don't want to do. But if I have multiple buyers for the property, guess what? I'm just on a search for the buyer that's matching up to that property. Can you see the difference? The one is just a search and it's easy, no stress. The other one is stressful and pressured. Can you see the difference? So my ability to determine the buyer's true intentions becomes very, very important. Does that make sense? So that's why the time that I spend on spending time with my buyer is very, very important. Guys, so this, I'm going to come back to this again and again because this, if you catch this, it's going to change your business. So here's the situation. So will the buyer situation change? We've agreed that it will change, yes? Here's the next question. Will you as an agent be around when that buyer's needs change and they're ready to buy and they're urgent? That's the next question. And if you're not around, you're going to lose out on the sale. And it just happens. I've heard this many times where, and if you haven't had this happen to you before, you just haven't been in real estate long enough. Okay. So you work with a buyer, you do all the stuff. And a few months later, what do you pick up a call, you phone them. Hey, Mr. Jones, Mrs. Jones, we're just chatting. I know you were looking at buying and you're interested. I found another property I might be interested in. Could I take you out? And Mrs. Jones says, Dion, thank you for phoning. You know what? You won't believe I've moved into my new property. I've just made an offer. I'm so excited. I can't wait to move in. And guess what you say? Congratulations, Mrs. Jones. And then you go and kick yourself. Yes? Anyone had that? Okay, because that happens and it's about being ready. So here's the situation. Whose fault was that? Mrs. Jones's fault or my fault?
My fault.
Yes, I just didn't keep in contact with her. So here's the key. If you can be in contact with your client long enough and intentional every single week, when they're ready to buy, they're going to buy from you. That's what we're trying to do. Okay, so and that's where it says, so imagine if you can work. Yes, I want to imagine this scenario. Imagine if you had a situation where every week you only worked with clients or buyers that were very urgent to buy in the next 30 to 60 days, and they were 100% pre-qualified financially. How easy would your life be? Would that be an easy scenario? Yep, yes or no? All right. Would everyone agree that if imagine you woke up on Monday morning and you had 10 buyers to take out this week that were urgent to buy in the next 30 to 60 days and they were qualified and you had stock to show them, who'd find that an easy game? Yeah. Guess what? You're going to do lots of transactions, right? So the question is this, do you have a system in place to make that a reality? And this is what we're talking about. So this is why I want to talk to you about winning with buyers and doing a buyer consultation that is intentional and purposeful to determine their dominant buyer motivation. And it allows you to have buyers that are ready to buy right now. And then another system to work with the other buyers that are not quite ready. It makes your life very, very simple. So is everybody ready for that? You happy? I hope you are, because, and yes, this is what's going to happen. At the end of this module, I promise you, 2 or 3 of you are going to say, oh, but that takes a long time to do. I don't know if I've got the time to do that. And I'm going to say to you, well, good luck with your way. Okay? Because that's like everyone else. And you're going to be frustrated. So I'm going to suggest you try this way. Yes, it does take a bit more time. It is a bit more intentional. It takes a bit more planning. But my goodness me, it just makes life easy. All right. Happy with that? Okay, good. Well, I'm fired up. If you're not, I'm very excited about this because I've seen this work. I've used it for myself, and it just makes life so simple. So let's just go on. I just want to give you a quick overview of where we're going to go with winning with buyers, and then we're going to jump into our second lesson. So with winning with buyers, from an overview perspective, it comes about 100% listing score. Guys, and we say this again and again, and I want to just re-say that if you do not work deliberately with your listing score at 100%, you are going to fight with your hand behind your back because you're going to put listings up, they're going to fall through the cracks, and you're not going to have enough buyer inquiries. So does it make sense that you need enough buyer inquiries to win with buyers? Does everyone happy with that?
Yes.
So the first step is listing score. And that's why you have to have professional photography, videography. You need to have it listed. You need to have the address on. So that's 65% of your listing score. You need to have that. Okay. So I'm obviously flogging that. But I want to suggest the next thing is database, your buyer database. Guys, right now, if I were to ask you to show me your buyer database, to show me a list of all your buyers that have inquired with you, and I want to know what their name is, what their budget was, what they inquired on, what property they inquired on, and what other properties you have that are similar to that. Can you show me that list right now for the last 6 months? Yes or no? And I would suggest that not one of you could show me that. So, okay. So Deline's putting it back. She can show you. Yes, it's good. So that's good. So I wanted to, so where is it written down? Have you got it? Because guys, I promise you, without that buyer database, you're going to lose out. So, and another scenario is, imagine if you had a listing. So I do my listing today. And before I put it onto property 24, guess what? I go to my buyer database and I send out to my 100 key buyers that I've been keeping contact with over the last 6 months. And I find my buyer from there. How's that? Who would like that? Okay. And that's what Shamla and Kerry have done. They have got a buyer database where almost 70% of their sales come from their buyer database. How awesome is that? So the reason why you have listings is because you want the buyer database and then you sell to the buyer database as well. Okay, so everyone happy with that? So number one, listing score. Number two, buyer database. And we do talk about it very deliberately. I'll show you in the module later where we show you how to do a database. Okay, good. So here is the process. And I want to give you a brief overview, and we're going to cover this in the next few modules. So the way it starts is this. I've got a listing and I get a buyer inquiry, either on property 24 or they phone me. So the first step in the goal is to do a buyer callback, where you physically have to call back your buyer. And there's a script. And I'm going to share that script with you and what we're going to do. Okay, so I get a buyer, I call them back, and I then set my expectations with that buyer. So the next step is I need to set my expectations, because if you don't set your expectations with your buyers, you're going to be in the back foot and it's going to be a frustrating day forward. Okay. Then the next step is I need to book my consultation. All right. And again, I've got a script for that because I want to book a consultation. And then the next step is I actually do my buyer consultation. So just that whole from the first phone call I make to actually doing the buyer consultation is a process. And what I find most agents do is they have a callback and they try and do the buyer consultation on the phone straight off the bat without preparing for it. And the first time they meet the client is at the property. Now, most agents that have been in the industry will say to me, well, what's wrong with that? Of course, that's what I do. I meet my client at the property. Yes. Well, let me just explore that with you quickly. What could the possible problems be with that? A buyer phones me, I phone them back, and the first time I meet them is at the property. What's the problem with that? Any suggestions?
You haven't taken down the correct information. You don't know what they want.
But they've
You need to
inquired.
go and meet with them.
Yeah, but they've inquired on that property. They should know what they want, surely.
Well, you need to go and have a meeting before you get to the property to establish the criteria.
Absolutely. Bernice, I'm with you. That's exactly the situation. But this is what the mindset of the agent is. But they've inquired on this property. I'm taking it to the property. What more do they want? Like, why? That's what agents think. Okay, well done. Thanks, Bernice. What else? What else is problematic with meeting at the property for the first time? Any ideas? Paul?
So, a thought is establishing connection with you as opposed to the property.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
I haven't connected with him. Good. I haven't done that. Good.
Yeah.
What
but
else?
It's, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What else could be problematic with meeting the first time? So, well, the reality is this, guys, is if I'm meeting the client for the first time, do I really know what they want?
No.
No. I've spent 5 minutes on the phone with them, asking them a couple of questions. And in my mind, in the agent's mind, I've done a buyer consultation. But I want to say to you that that's not a buyer consultation. That is an initial phone call to just say hi. It's a courtesy call. It's not a consultation. And as agents, we know we get pretty good at what we have to ask. Like, I know how many bedrooms do you want to, but that's not a consultation. So now I meet the client for the first time at the property. Now I'm showing them that property, and here's the situation. They see the property. What happens? 99% of the time, that's not the property they buy. Does everybody agree with that? So now I'm seeing that the property, and now they don't like it. Then what? Then have I made arrangements to show other properties? No, because I haven't had the time. I don't know what they're looking for. So then I let them go, and they go into someone else's hands and they buy elsewhere. Do you see that process? So imagine if we could take that and be a bit more intentional and find out what they want up front. At a proper interview, I build a rapport with them. I build expectations of what I expect from them and what they expect from me. I then take them to the 3 properties that they've actually wanted. And imagine if I could show them 10 or 15 properties virtually, and I only take them to the 3 properties that they've actually decided that they want to see through visual representation, and they close on one of those 3 properties. Who's had this question from a buyer? I've shown them the property I've got, and then they ask me, is there anything else that I could see? And what do we say? Well, yes, I could find you something. And that's rubbish. If you've done your buyer consultation correctly, the answer is no, Mr. Buyer, because I've shown you the best properties that match your criteria right now, and there's nothing else. If you want to see something else, we need to change your budget, change your area, or change what you're looking for. So make a decision today. How about that? Can you see the difference? Can you see the different intention with what we're looking at doing? Well, anyway, if you obviously, if you haven't done this long enough and you don't know, you haven't been a tour guide long enough, because a tour guide is great fun for the first day, but it gets a bit tiring after the second day. So we want to close, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So this is like, so we've gone through this process where I've called them back, I've set my expectations, I've then booked the consultation, I've done my consultation, and now I take them to my structured finance consultant. So my structured finance consultant does the work with them prior to do my viewing. Now I book the viewing, and then I physically do the viewing. So can you see the viewing is done right at the end? They've been pre-qualified. I know what they want, and then I ask for the offer. So this is the process we're going to go through with each buyer. Sometimes it happens quicker than other times, and I can obviously skip a few steps. But I want to just say, as a goal, what we're going to do is we're going to do our call. We send out our expectations to our buyer. We then do the consultation, and that consultation can be done face-to-face or can be done on Zoom or on the phone, okay, obviously, and we go through. So can you guys see that process, how that process could make a difference? Anyone happy with that? So guys, just as we're looking at this, in terms of this first module, as an overview with winning with buyers, I want to just go through, can I just quickly have some comments and some questions on what I've just given you as an overview of what we're going to do?
For my industry, for our industry, getting a buyer mandate is still unheard of.
Yep. So we're gonna talk about that, how to get a buyer mandate.
Okay.
We'll discuss it. But in commercial, now commercial happens quite quick, and also rentals happens a lot quicker. But here's the thing: we take the stuff here and we put it into make it slightly quicker, but we still have to do the consultation. Like especially with rentals, you have a rental client, they're phoning, but rental clients are we're just bad at the rental. We never do a proper consultation, and we just take them to a couple of properties and we hope they sign the deal. But I want to be intentional about it. So that's what we're going to do. Any other comments, guys? Any other? Okay, so you happy with that? So guys, so I just want to give you an overview of where we're going to go with winning with buyers. I want to change and shake your paradigm as to how we do our buyer consultation and what we are. So our expectation on doing our buyer consultation is we want to determine what our dominant buyer motivation is. We want to build rapport. I want to have the opportunity of showing them only the properties that they would be interested in, and then be able to close very directly on those properties that they've seen, because there's nothing else available. And we're going to go through that process. So I'm going to take you through a journey. And the next module, module 2, is we're going to talk about the buyer callback. I'm going to talk about a script, and I'm also going to go through the expectations protocol that we use. And then in lesson 3, we're actually going to go into the actual consultation. We're going to explore the questions you can ask your buyer that will allow you to determine if they're an A, B, or C category buyer, and only work with A category buyers. Everyone ready? Everyone happy there? All right. Well done, guys. Well done for going through this first module and the overview.